Thanks for checking out this video. So here I go. I'm going to rank all of the movies that I received from Vinegar Syndrome for July releases. I did not get all of them. I think Interrogation was one that I didn't get, and there was one other one that I did not get that is escaping me at the moment. But anyway, I got 6 of them. I'm going to go over them, and as usual, they are ranked from the first one I'm going to do is the one that I liked the least, and then to the one I like the most. So not trying to spend too much time on these, so I won't go too far into especially the special features. I'll just kind of say good, not good. So anyway, first off, my number 6, I rolled the dice on a DeGosser title because I usually don't like shot on video films, but there are some I do enjoy, like Justice Ninja Style and Things and Sledgehammer, stuff like that. But I got Blood Cult, and Blood Cult's my number 6. This is about, it's not terrible, but it's not as good as the sequel that was shot on film called Revenge, that's in the Homegrown Horrors Volume 3 box set. So this one is basically about women who are dying at at sorority houses, and it gets investigated, and they're trying to figure out, is this a cult? Is this a blood cult that is killing these women? Because they keep finding this like dog-headed amulet that's there, and they're like, are they, worshiping this dog-headed god? It's that whole thing. It's shot on video. The acting is really bad, and sometimes it's like a so good it's bad, so there is some enjoyment in that aspect of it. But it's really, really slow, unfortunately, and that's kind of where it ended up killing me. I don't think this is one that I would say no one should get, because I know there are some, shot on video fanatics out there, and you may very well end up really enjoying this for that reason. But as far as special features go, okay amount of special features. I never do the commentary tracks just because I don't really have the time to watch a movie, all these movies twice, and actually get this video out at a decent time. So it does have a commentary track. Has an interview with producer Linda Lewis, which was pretty interesting. She had a lot of cool kind of behind the scenes things to say about it. It's the sizzle that sells the steak. An interview with Bob Blair, the VCI president and son of executive producer Bill F. Blair. That was also interesting enough. Making a Blood Cult, an archival documentary from 2012. Looks rough because it's from 2012, but interesting information there to go along with the film. Archival interview with director Christopher Lewis, which was quite interesting. Archival interview with executive producer Bill F. Blair, who I believe is not alive anymore. And then The Appointment, an early short film produced by Bill F. Blair, which that one was pretty interesting to see. Not what you would assume as far as a short film goes from the same person who made Blood Cult, but it is interesting. It's very short. It's, how many minutes? It is, the short, 7 minutes. So it's not like a big time commitment to do that. So the special features are solid on this. So if you do like this film, I would say definitely pick it up for that reason. But for me, it just didn't hit. It's not my thing. This was the first DeGosser I've bought. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being the only one. Just saying. That's just my opinion. So Blood Cult, my number 6. So next, we have my number 5. And this one's good. Like, I did like this film, and that's the thing. Like, other than Blood Cult, I kind of like these all to some degree. So my number 5 is actually the release of Intrepidos Punks and Vengeance of the Punks. And I'm going to be honest, I actually liked Vengeance of the Punks more than Intrepidos Punks. But let me go back and talk about Intrepidos Punks. It is just like a mayhem movie, Intrepidos Punks. It's literally about this gang of punks on motorcycles. This is a Mexican film. Punks on motorcycles who are going around doing terrible things. They're stealing, they're destroying things, they're killing people, they're committing assaults of a sexual nature. They are terrible, and it's just about the debauchery. It's about wild things happening and how then they are living their lifestyles. A lot of sex in this film, in addition to the assault that happens. There's consensual sex in this film. There's a lot of that goes on. If you're into just like wild movies, just like balls to the wall, just things happening on a crime spree type stuff, this may be of great interest to you. Also, the costuming is really interesting. The acting is not the greatest, but it's kind of fun how not great it is. So Intrepidos Punks itself, like I enjoyed it enough, but it just didn't have much of a plot to it. It's just about the ridiculousness. Then Vengeance of the Punks, I actually did like more because it actually had more of a plot to it. This is one where it's the same group. The leader has gotten out of jail at this point, and they're going on their rampage again. They end up murdering the family, like an entire family of this police officer who then is seeking revenge, trying to take them out one by one. So like that's actually a really engaging story. So I really like Vengeance of the Punks a lot more because of that reason. There's also some interesting kill sequences in that one as well. And then they get into like this demonic worshiping going on that wasn't going on in the first film, which is kind of wild. Although I will say, trigger warning for people, they actually slaughter I think it's a sheep, a lamb. It was already dead, but they ended up like cutting it open and like doing stuff with its head and stuff like that at their like satanic ritual. So for someone like me, I don't really like that stuff, but just thought I'd put the warning out there. But if this is your type of film, you're probably really going to like this release. It's not my type of film typically, but I still enjoyed it, to be honest. So as far as the special features go, I have a making of documentary featuring interviews with a bunch of people involved with it. That was very interesting, especially because they talk a lot about like what punk was back then and kind of the evolution of punk in Mexico and how these films were important being tied into that. Venganza de los Punks, Punk is Dead, making up documentary featuring interviews with Tito Guillen. Oh yeah, all the same people again. Our original theatrical trailer, and then they have an essay in here, which I'll pull out the essay because I don't remember the name of the essay. But the essay was really good, actually, and that is In the Name of Punk by Claudia Pretlin. This one was very interesting because it kind of went over, again, the importance of this film and the punk scene and all that type of stuff. So I always really like their essays, and this essay was no exception. Very good essay on this one. So it's still pretty solid. Still a good time. I still recommend it for people who are into these types of movies. So my number 5, Intrepidos Punks and Vengeance of the Punks. All right. Now getting into my number 4. This was one that was an additional purchase. This one was included with my subscribership. Blood Cult, obviously, I bought in addition. And I bought this one in addition. Number 4, They Call Me Macho Woman, which is a Troma release. And I've actually been enjoying almost all the Troma releases that have been happening through Vinegar Syndrome, so I'm a fan for the most part. This film in particular, not much of a story to it. It's very, very simplistic. It's basically about a woman who we don't know until a certain point is actually a badass who is trying to look at moving out of the city. She's trying to go into in a rural area. She's looking at a house, and all of a sudden she runs afoul of this gang of terrible people, basically, who want to assault her and kill her. And so it's her running from them and then turning things around and suiting up with all the stuff you see on here and going after them and trying to kill them one by one. There's some really fun practical effects in this that I really enjoyed. There's some fun/funny kill scenes. The acting is not good at all, but it is a really fun, not good acting. Much like Intrepidos Punks, this is not my type of film that I typically like. This is kind of in the vein of like Blood Games, if you ever saw Blood Games. They also, in some of the special features and essays, compare this to I Spit on Your Grave, but not as mean-spirited when it comes to the assault stuff. Because really, it definitely is not. It's way more sanitized in that sense. But I did enjoy this. I had a good time with this. I do think this is one I would watch again, which is kind of wild considering what type of movie it is, because it's just usually not something I gravitate to. But let's see. As far as the special features go, we have a commentary track, Shoot Her, an interview with cinematographer Mike Pierce, which is very interesting to just hear how he chose to shoot certain scenes. They Call Me Uncle Lloyd, an interview with Lloyd Kaufman, which is, Lloyd Kaufman being Lloyd Kaufman, But one of the things he was really pushing is the fact that this was like a very feminist film in a time when that wasn't really being done, which was interesting. And then they had a original trailer. There's a poster in this, and then essays, or I think it's just one essay. Let me pull out the essay so I can. It's They Call Me Macho Woman, The Other Side of Trauma, which this was very interesting in kind of laying out a history of trauma a little bit, not all of it, but a little bit of a history of trauma, and then specifically talking more about They Call Me Macho Woman, and also how it wasn't really able to hit the way they wanted it to hit, but it's kind of finding a cult following like a bunch of their films. And they also tie that back to the fact that how the ownership of theaters were really changing at that point from the more independent people and like 42nd Street sleaze of New York City, and going more to, if I can get this damn thing to go in, going more to large companies doing these big cinemas. And so a lot of the revenue stream kind of dried up for Troma, but they've soldiered on. So the essay is wonderful for that reason if you want backstory into Troma, and that's what I liked special feature-wise the most. But They Call Me Macho Woman, a very solid number 4 pick. I did enjoy it. Now, at number 3, this was another one that I purchased in addition. This is part of their cinematograph line, and that is Last Embrace. Now, this is a Jonathan Demme film. Most people would know him from doing Silence of the Lambs, which, he won awards for. Now, this film, it's not a great film, and I didn't have a great time with it. There was some stuff I did, like it's shot very well, it looks wonderful, but the story is kind of all over the place, and they lean into that in the special features, the essays, and just the other special features. Kind of talking about, like, yeah, we know it's not a great film, but... And they kind of make the argument that this kind of this is like very stylistically Jonathan Demme, and it shows his influences, like it's very Hitchcockian. There's so much ripped from and nodding to Hitchcock films in this film. It doesn't work as an overall film, but it is interesting to watch, to see his influences and then see where he was versus where he ends up going with his career, because this was pre Silence of the Lambs. Since it was from, I believe, 79. But the premise is cool. It's basically about a guy who is a secret agent. They're assuming CIA. It's never specifically said. Who ends up taking his wife on a mission with him. She ends up getting killed. He ends up in a psychiatric ward. And then you're starting the movie with him getting out of the psychiatric ward after you get that flashback of his wife dying. And then him having a lot of paranoia going on, his relationship with his employer, this, spy service not being great, and him wondering if they're trying to have him taken out. But at the same time, he gets, this note in Hebrew that's basically saying, I'm coming to get you, in essence. And it ends up being, it's like tied into some other people who have had the same note who end up dying. So the question is, like, who's coming after him, what's going on, or is this just in his head? So the premise sounds great, but the way it's executed is not great, especially because the characters aren't very likable, including Roy Scheider's character, which he does a great job, but Roy Scheider's character is not, you don't like him. And that makes it hard to, like, feel even more invested in the film. But where they end up taking in the end is kind of wild and pretty cool and fun. So by the end of the film, it is interesting. So, I don't think I need to open that to go over the. Yeah, I don't need to open. Well, I do for the essays, but for now, oops, I got the ribbon stuck in there. That's the thing I don't like about these. It fits in tight, and you really got to make sure the ribbon's sticking out. Anyway, special features. Audio commentary with Howard S. Berger and Steve Mitchell. Labyrinth of Last Embrace, a video essay by Sam Deegan, which is really good. A, Sam Deegan is wonderful at what she does, and B, their video essays are always really, really good. You get some really good insight into style stuff and kind of the story and their breakdown of the story on there. Archival interview with producer Michael Taylor. Theatrical trailer, and then the essays that are in this book thing A lot of essays. There's a lot to this essay-wise, which I did enjoy. Don't overdo it. A reappreciation of Jonathan Demme's Last Embrace, which is a very interesting essay, and I think important for them to put in here to increase people's enjoyability of the film. Kind of tell them, yeah, we know it's not great, but here's why it's interesting and worth watching and worth appreciating. So I really like that. The next one was Embracing Excess, Last Embrace, and Jonathan Demme's crime films of the 70s. So obviously talking about other films that Jonathan Demme was doing and kind of where his style was and where it was going. And that was very interesting to know because I didn't really I've never looked deep into Jonathan Demme's career. So to get that information there, very cool. And then the last one was What Goes Around Comes Around, Jonathan Demme's Last Embrace, Reconsidered and Rediscovered. Again, another one kind of trying to hit home what was trying to be done with this, but then also kind of talking about the issues with the script and how it wasn't fully fleshed out, basically. But a good release. It's not higher up because the film itself isn't great. And I don't know. I mean, I'll probably watch it one more time to have the context of all the special features and essays after that, but didn't love it. But a solid number 3 pick. So Last Embrace, number 3. Now my number 2 has got to be Reptilicus. One of the ones that was included with my subscribership. This one's a lot of fun. Just like last, I believe it was July when they released Gorgo, another monster feature. The funny thing about this, okay, well, let me tell you the story first. It's basically about some guys who are drilling for oil. They end up drilling into something that they don't know what it is. It's some sort of organic matter that's moving. They take it to a scientist because they unearth a piece of a tail of Reptilicus. They're keeping it cold, and then eventually it's not cold. I won't tell you why, but something funny related to that-ish. And then it starts growing, and then we eventually get a full Reptilicus who goes on a rampage. Typical monster movie. The funny thing about this film is not only is there plenty of so bad it's good acting, there are some weird characters in it that I did enjoy, and the creature looks awful. Laugh out loud. You're going to have a good time just making fun of the fact that the creature looks terrible. It was a puppet, and it looks like a puppet, and it moves like a puppet. So there's a lot working against the film as far as being good, but being as so bad it's good. Thumbs up. It's fun. It is a little slow, though. I will warn people on that one. It is a little bit slow. But special features are cool with this one. One of the really interesting things, well, I'll pull it out, but they were doing, and this is a 4K, and so was Last Embrace. Last Embrace also a 4K. They put a Danish version on here because it was done in conjunction with Denmark. And there were actually scenes in the film, which they talk about in the special features. There were scenes in the film of military stuff going on. Usually with films like this, it was stock footage. Not true. They actually worked with the Danish military in order to shoot those scenes from scratch. So probably didn't need to, but it's interesting to know. So special features, 50 million years out of time revisiting Reptilicus, a new retrospective featuring film historian producer Robert Parigi and screenwriter film historian C. Courtney Joyner. That was a lot of fun to learn the historical importance of it. Pink Goes West, Life After Reptilicus, an interview with filmmaker historian Jay Jennings. Yeah, very interesting to find out what producer Sidney Pink did after the film. Invincible, Indestructible, illustrator, author, and film historian Stephen R. Bissett on Reptilicus and its enduring legacy. That one was probably my favorite just because he also had a similar interview for Gorgo where he kind of really talks about the historical importance of the film and kind of his love of the film and just some key things that make you appreciate it a lot more. So another great special feature. Reptilicus, good release. Plus, I mean, it looks so good. This looks so good and the back looks so good. I don't understand this stuff. that they did is very similar they did with Gorgo. I assume they're going to do that for all their like monster releases like this, but but even, the original artwork on that is phenomenal. The original artwork is wonderful. So you get so much great art out of this release, which I enjoy. But my number 2 pick, Reptilicus release. Good times. And my number 1 pick, I didn't expect this to end up being number 1, and a lot of other people probably wouldn't. A Chinese torture chamber story 1 and 2. This is a Hong Kong Cat 3 film that is wild. Well, okay, let me backtrack. The first one is wild and a lot of fun. The second one has a little bit of wild and a little bit of fun to it, but not nearly what the first one does. So honestly, they're not connected. I would say watch the second one first and then watch the first one, because the first one is way better in so many ways. It literally, okay, well, first of all, it's about a woman who ends up being set up for a murder. It's like dynasty times in China, and the woman is supposed to become a concubine. The guy's wife ends up getting kind of jealous. He ends up getting killed. She gets framed for it along with someone else. They're being tortured, so there is a torture aspect of it, but the way it's shot keeps things very light and goofy. Also, the acting keeps things light and goofy, which is kind of a nice way to approach the torture of things. There is a lot of sexual stuff going on in this. It's very, very focused on sex and like over-the-top sex things, like some wild ejaculations in this movie. Never thought I'd ever say that on a video, but there's some wild ejaculations. There's also a scene in the first movie that I'm sure some people have already seen out of context online. I did. It was people doing like wire martial arts fighting, but it's sex. Wild. Like, just to give you an idea of how like over the top, wild, excessive the film is, but so much fun. So much fun. I loved the movie. This is like a sleeper hit. Then the second one is like way more subdued, unfortunately. It's a little more serious, and which it's just hard to watch that after the first one and just having so much fun with it. But there is some okay stuff with it. That one's just basically about like a general who ends up coming across these low-lying crooks, low-life crooks, I should say, and he ends up taking pity on him. He kind of takes him in and is just like, okay, let me help you become better people, get you some money and stuff. But the real reason he wants to get with them is because he wants to get with their ladies, and then people get caught up in stuff. There's torture and death and blah, blah, blah. So, but it's not a great time. Anyway, special features, commentary tracks, obviously. One, an alternate 92-minute Mandarin language edit of the first film. Brand new interview with Wang Jing, producer of Chinese Torture Chamber 1 and 2. He was very interesting to hear talk, but it was a very short interview, only 5 minutes. I would have liked to hear more from him. Then the Cat 3 films of Wang Jing, a video essay by Justin Decloux of the Important Cinema Club. That was awesome. I loved that special feature because he really went deep into this individual's film producing credits, and I wasn't aware of a lot of these films, and now I want to see a lot of these films because of what was explained and how hyped up they were by the individual, so I like that. Titillating Torture, a video essay by film historian Erica Schultz. That one was quite interesting as well, kind of giving a history on like torture. A little rough at times to watch it. They do show a very famous picture for a while of someone who was actually tortured and dead. So that's not great. Not something I really want to see. I want like a warning for stuff like that. So you have now been warned. But and then then there is an essay booklet, which I was surprised that there was for a release like this, but was very happy to see it. They had A Taste of Sugar, A Taste of SHIT. I don't want to say it because, YouTube. 2 Wang Jing torture chamber stories. So it just kind of goes over the importance of the films and kind of what's going on with them, breaking them down. And also the Cat 3 classification system, which was very interesting to learn about. Very interesting to learn about how the whole Cat 3 classification was going. And I think, actually, that might be the only... Yeah, that is the only essay in here. I thought maybe there were two, but there was just one. Great essay. It's a little bit lengthy for their short essays, but worth it. Very worth reading. I'm a slow reader, so, you know. So anyway, for all those reasons, A Chinese Torture Chamber Story 1 and 2 is my number one from the July releases. Would love to find out who out there agrees with any of my picks here or my ordering, or let me know what you thought was the best release you got for July. Even if you only got one release from July, did you like it? What'd you think? Let's go ahead and get nerdy about it. Talk about these films or whatever films you got, whatever you want to talk about. And yeah, thank you for checking this out. Do me a quick favor, hit subscribe to my channel. That's your best way to repay me for the free content. Thumbs up on this video to help me with that YouTube algorithm, and you can hit the notification bell button and you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you so much for taking all your time, like over 25 minutes at this point, watching this video. I do appreciate that. I do like doing these videos, but until next time, keep it brutal.